Hey, beautiful people. Rebecca Thompson here. And if you don't know me, I help other women to really find a spiritual path of female development, leadership, and fulfillment that doesn't take away from their health, it doesn't take away from their family life or their business life. So it's very much a merging, a bridging of the practical and the spiritual world. And I wanted to share with you today a little bit about the transition that's been happening for me recently. And you may have noticed that I've been signing off my posts with Rebecca, and today we've just done some changes actually on the picture and on the Facebook page. And it's been a really profound journey. And because I know many of you are on a personal spiritual development path, I thought I would share this because I know that you will relate to it. I think you'll relate to it. You know that on this personal spiritual development path, there is a part of ourselves that we are perhaps wanting to allow a little death of, this connection or this attachment to self, little s. And I'm going to use little s for self and the mind, and capital S for our more divine self, and just, or use divine self. So just interlace with whatever words feel right for you. Because it's my experience that our suffering comes from the attachment to the little self, the attachment to one's thoughts, our body, our experiences, our pain, our problems, even our happiness, our loss or attachments. So let me know if you're with me so far. And then we have the one who is aware of these thoughts. And when we first step into that awareness, it can actually be more painful because suddenly we're aware of all these ways that we are guilting ourselves, shooting ourselves, not living up to what our highest desires are, right? So this first bit of the path, when we step into awareness of our thoughts, of our mind, of our body, can actually bring a little bit more discomfort. But then we step into the awareness of this awareness itself and first start to taste this sense of deep peace and connection and somewhat a separation initially from these thoughts and from this observer right back into our divine capital S self. So this has been a journey that I've been on for some time and learning powerful tools around this. And in my trip to India recently, it was such a embodied, highly energetic, profound, moving experience, connecting not just with the land that I feel incredibly connected to, but to the ashram and the practices that were happening there. There was a lot of movement, a lot of shake, and some of the other work I was doing there with the lovely Rachel Jane Groover around the art of feminine presence. And what happened through this shake of really, all I could do was let go into complete receptivity, because there was so much movement, so much coming up. And if you've ever felt that, you can't do anything. Well, if you try and resist it, it's going to be really painful and you're going to feel really yuck. All I could do was just come into complete non-resistance to all this energetic movement or this emotional movement that was coming up. And part of that, what came up was this huge release around self, little s, and the thoughts that I was just talking about. And part of that was my name, or the name that I had chosen for myself, because I was given Rebecca when I was born, but I had given myself the name Bex, or that had sort of acquired itself over the years. And we change our names, I think, or I certainly, for me, in order to define oneself. And we do this in different ways. Thanks, Christian. I love this topic. How do you define yourself? How do you try to define yourself, your little s? Because the more you try and define yourself, little s, you are getting more and more attached to this sense of self. And if something changes or is lost or is gained or is hurt, then you're going to feel that. So there's different ways that we do it. We do it in our name, we do it in our haircuts, and I've been through some haircuts. I've been through long dreads, and I've been through no hair and short hair, and I've stuck with this for a while, colored hair. We do it through our job. What else do we do it through? We do it through our different roles, being a mum, being a nice person. We have all these different roles and labels. And at different times, I've worked on releasing and surrendering my need to be defined as that. But what came up so strongly, sometimes you can't force it. It needs to arise within itself just through your practice. And this is what happened for me in India. There was so much shake, so much movement, so much energy, so much emotion. And it just arose out of me in a deep outpouring of emotion that I was not Bex. I had created that for myself, to be different, to be unique, to, I don't know, go against my parents maybe, but somehow to define myself, to be different. And one of the spiritual truths is that we're not different. We first start to have to separate from this little self into the big divine self, and then there's a re-merging into oneness. And by reclaiming Rebecca, the name I was given, there was a sense of deep humility and a death of this little self, a death of the ego, which was such a sweet sorrow, but so incredibly emotional. And it was a reclaiming of the divine energy. I can feel the emotion of it now, of that name. And I believe all names have a real potent energy. And, Rebecca, the energy that came up for that name was deeply spiritual, deeply based on faith, deeply connected to the land. And when I went into a very feminine, moving meditation practice, when I just released Bex and brought Rebecca in, I could feel, and all of these hundreds of thousands of Rebeccas sort of came across the desert, across the hills, and into this stream, into this flowing river of women who were intent on peace and being warrior women and faith and love and connection. So it was just so profound. And, just one small part, I know, of this journey of releasing the ego and the mental attachment to form, to self, little s, and all that you think you are, all that I think I am and that I stand for. It's not that we stop and let go of everything, but it's that we don't need to be that in order to feel happy, to feel peace, to feel joy, to feel purposeful. That those things arise out of a deep, deep connection to our divinity and to something that is greater than what the mind can even comprehend. And I don't even know if this is making much sense to you. Let me know if this is sort of dropping in for you, because often you might probably experience this yourself. When we have a spiritual experience, when we have a deep release, it's something very tricky to put into words because it is beyond the mind. Yeah, that's the whole point. That it is not connected to the mind, it is beyond the mind. And yeah, I just wanted to share that it was such a potent and poignant moment for me. And yeah, I invite you just to be curious yourselves about what ways have you chosen to define yourself, little s, and how attached are you to that? Because it can be the roots of a lot of your suffering or discontent when we don't want to be seen as not that, or we do want to be seen as that, or we feel the loss of that, or we need to grasp to attain that. And so it's just really interesting. And this is the path that I'm on, and all the women that work with me are very much on this path of really going deep into the spiritual awakening in this lifetime. So if you are just jumping on now, which many of you are, I'm just about to sign off. So I'm going to finish this and you'll be able to go back to the beginning. And I'd love to hear if anyone else has had an experience like this. It may be, around your name. It may be around something else. I'm always curious. So from now on, you'll see Rebecca has changed on my page. I'm leaving Bex in there now just so people don't get too confused. About who's what and whose this page is, and then over the next month that Bex will just go. So and if you are wanting your own sort of spiritual path, if you've been trying for a while on your own with spirituality and personal development and you just don't really feel like you're quite getting the traction that you want, because we all need to be held. We all need to be held in space, and we all need a teacher to help us who has been through what we need to go through, what we are about to go through, or we are perched on the precipice of. And I have those teachers for me, and I am that one for others. So if you feel drawn, then just reach out to me, send me a message about what's going on for you. I help women to accelerate that spiritual and personal development path, no matter where they're at, no matter whether that's in relation to their business or relationships, whether that's in relation to their health, being seen and heard, courage, self-worth. Our personal spiritual development affects all of who we are and how we show up. And so, I work with all of you. So let me know if you want to know any more about what I do. I can, contact you personally. All right, beautiful people. If you're just jumping on now, I'm finishing up, and you can always go back to the beginning and hear a little bit of my story of going from Rebecca to from Bex even, or from Rebecca to Bex, back to Rebecca, and the little death that ensued. All right, have an amazing day, everyone. Take care.